I'm here on 2100 and Nightingale, famous for the rapper EBK Jaaybo, but for him, this is more than just a corner. This is the home of an infamous gang that are at war with so many different sets in the area, it's easier for them to just say that they're everybody killers. And unfortunately, the truth behind that saying is much more real than you could have possibly imagined. So today, I'll be telling you the whole story of EBK Jaaybo, EBK, everybody they wanted to kill, and everybody they did.
12 people have been shot.
We're doing CPR on one possible 12-year-old.
Just a few hours ago, a mass shooting at a child's birthday party left 4 people dead and 10 additional people injured.
We're at this parking lot, this strip mall where we're told some of the crowds first ran to try to get cover.
Investigators say they believe this was a targeted incident.
We're talking about children. We're talking about a cake being cut as bullets are ringing out.
Families and mothers sobbing.
Number one priority is ensuring that we find that suspect and hold them accountable.
You just see bullet holes and everything, man. And then the evidence markers, they still here. It's just all here out in the open. I never seen anything like it. Just everywhere, all the way up the whole thing. On the door.
Investigators arrested 34 suspected gang members.
70% of the city's violent crime is committed by gang members.
It's hard not to have that association there when a gang member's shot.
If you pull up in blue, you might just get checked.
Even though it's a small city, it is violent. And with this rap stuff they got going on right now, I would advise anybody that's not from Stockton, that goes to Stockton, watch what music you play.
The largest city in American history to file for bankruptcy.
A 26-year-old man was killed as 2 young children, just 5 and 6 years old, were inside the car.
Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving loss of life. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. Some points made in this video are opinions and theories. I am not responsible for third-party information. If you want to watch my videos uncut and extended, go to patreon.com/traplawross where you can get those for just $2. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. So before we get any deeper into the video, I want to share a story with you. After I learned about the horrific events of the Stockton mass shooting that took the lives of 3 children, me and my team began digging deeper into this story. I did extensive coverage of the topic and the events preceding it on my second channel, Trapmob Los, where I'm now covering breaking news daily. The story was clearly very important to people, and learning about the community affected by this made me want to learn more about Stockton in general, so I decided to visit as part of researching this video. Now, I asked a few friends of mine from Northern California what it was like there and what they thought of me going to Nightingale for this video, and they all said the same thing: do not go. I even reached out to higher security and they said that I would need 2 armed guards minimum to guarantee my safety. Now honestly, I was really taken aback by people's reactions. I've been to some of London's most notorious hoods to cover gang wars in my own community, including one where 2 people were murdered just 2 streets over from where I lived for 4 years. Also in the USA, I visited the hood of Bronx drill rapper D-Thang G's River Park Towers, as well as the location where 14-year-old drill rapper Naughty Osama lost his life and where K-Flock took another man's life. I've also done hood vlogs in Los Angeles, Compton and Long Beach with both the Bloods and the Crips, so despite having gone to some of the most dangerous spots around the world, the way people spoke to me about Stockton just felt different. Now, a lot of people always try and make me feel scared and act overly cautious about these kinds of things, and most times that I've been to a dangerous area, I've actually been embraced and welcomed, but I underestimated Stockton. It was different. As soon as I pulled up on Nightingale, I felt a very dark energy. It just felt so desolate. I was surrounded by abandoned stores and buildings, crumbling roads and sidewalks. The sounds of dogs barking and sirens were filling the air, and the streets were really empty. It was eerie. And then as soon as I hopped out of the car and approached the 2100 block of Nightingale, the infamous sign that you saw at the start of this video, I immediately got banged on by someone across the street, and it was very clear to me we were not safe from the get-go. Now thankfully I was with a well-connected local who was able to defuse the situation, but I truly felt in danger from the moment my feet touched the concrete. What do you think is a problem?
Huh?
You think it's a problem?
Over there?
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, dude, we're with him, so if we weren't, I would be concerned. Trust me, because I can't take it.
Clearly, Stockton and the hoods within it have a very dark and dangerous energy. Pretty much every single car that drove past felt like a danger to me, and everywhere we went, we encountered people that were seemingly baffled to be seeing someone like me there. So if this is how an outsider is made to feel, I can't imagine how intense it must be growing up in this environment and dealing with this type of danger and darkness as an insider with a face card. And that's why I feel it's important to share that backstory so people can understand just how hard the residents and youth of this city have it when it comes to surviving this dark environment. And clearly, in light of recent events, the authorities in Stockton feel the same and are trying to get a handle of the situation. In the wake of the tragic mass shooting at a child's birthday party that grabbed national headlines, the Stockton mayor officially requested federal support.
Now she wants more manpower from the federal government.
We need more. We want to be their pilot site for the United States of America. Come to Stockton. We're here ready with our arms open for you to come into our city and let us lead then the nation on how to do it right.
And in that request, ironically named Mayor Fugazi revealed a staggering reality, that the city of Stockton was home to over 100 gangs with an estimated 5,000 members. Moreover, she noted that the police had already seized more than 752 illegal guns off the streets in the year of 2025 alone. All of this was unfolding in a city already crippled by severe police staffing shortages and a long-standing lack of resources needed to keep up with this surge in crime. As of 2025, the Stockton Police Department had only 372 sworn officers to police the city, which means that in Stockton, gang members outnumber the police 13-1. Beyond that, deep-rooted issues like poverty, unemployment, limited educational access, and extreme inequality continue to fuel Stockton's crime rate, keeping it ranked among the top 10 most dangerous cities in America year after year. And so despite being in California, the city of just over 300,000 residents has repeatedly ranked number 1 or number 2 for homicide rates. And even Stockton PD's own social media would show just how strained the police department has become, with non-stop vacancy ads offering $15,000 sign-on bonuses and trainee salaries ranging from $89,000 to $115,000 a year. And also, one of the most unusual efforts to boost manpower that I've ever seen included a volunteer mounted patrol program, with the requirement being that volunteer cops bring their own horses. At the same time, the Stockton Police Department has leaned heavily on the public, posting a steady stream of unsolved cases through its dystopian weekly series of appeals calling for help titled Who's That Wednesdays. Historically, Stockton's gang problems trace back to the late 1980s, when a major LAPD crackdown pushed Los Angeles' historic gangs north, ultimately planting roots in Stockton.
In the late 1980s, the Los Angeles Police Department crackdown on street gangs in South Central LA drove the groups north into cities like Stockton and Sacramento.
We're going to stop the violence. And we want to get the message out to the little cowards out there that we're going to come and get them. We're going to come and get them fast.
From there, the influx of gangs created demand for specialized enforcement units. But everything changed once social media hit the streets and gangs began using online platforms to recruit younger members, as well as becoming more violent and far more public.
The influx sparked a need for specialized law enforcement units to focus on violent crimes that have often been associated with gangs.
Primarily, what we saw were turf related. You could go into a certain neighborhood and the representatives for that gang would most likely be in that neighborhood, representing that neighborhood, protecting that neighborhood, and also controlling that neighborhood, which is different than what we see today. It's kind of taken the place of the typical tagging, traditional tagging you'd see in neighborhoods. We are seeing younger ages of gang members now that are actually active, as young as 12. I think it's critical that at a young age, youth want to feel accepted. And if they're not getting praise, if they're not getting an acceptance inside the home, they're often going to seek it somewhere else. And what we see is a lot of times they find that in these gang cultures.
Over time, Stockton drifted away from traditional LA gang rivalries, and in this new era, the color of your rag mattered far less than the specific block or clique that you were claiming.
I think gang banging in Stockton compared to LA and Compton in the 80s and 90s was kind of similar. But these days, I would say the difference is LA is still more like traditional Crips and Bloods, whereas as far as Northern California, we have Crips and Bloods, but it's kind of more like block banging, more of the block you're from or the clique you're from than colors, you know, or Crip and Blood. There's a lot of There's a lot of hoods out here that have both Crips and Bloods.
Allegedly, it's a war between such neighborhood cliques that would ultimately lead to the recent devastating bloodshed. But before we get to the events that might have led to this tragedy, let's introduce these crews quickly by having a look at their previous run-ins with the law, because as it turns out, none of them are strangers to the Stockton police. For example, in 2016, a gang known as the Westside Lewis Park Bloods were taken down by local and federal law enforcement under an operation called Bloodline, led by none other than the Attorney General at the time, Kamala Harris. That mission resulted in the seizure of guns, cash, and more than 41 pounds of marijuana, along with the arrests of members linked to multiple robberies and homicides.
Stockton police went after gang members and the Westside Bloods and the Taliban, not to be confused with the terrorist group. Officers say these gangs are making Stockton neighborhoods unsafe with shootings and armed robberies.
Those who are out there that think that they can terrorize neighborhoods like this, your day's coming.
Officers also took over 20 weapons and 40 pounds of marijuana.
Police say the charges in this operation include murder, drugs, and human trafficking. Most of the suspects are in their 20s, and the pictures that are not up here is because they're juveniles.
The Westside Bloods, also known as the Lewis Park Bloods, have one of the most unique histories in Stockton too. Sometimes referred to as Stockton's deadliest gang, their story begun in the 1980s, when the blood gangs that had begun in Los Angeles about a decade earlier to combat the rise of the Crips arrived in the Northern California neighborhoods. Meanwhile, in the late 70s, war in Southeast Asia resulted in floods of refugees, tens of thousands of them arriving in the United States. Among them, Cambodian families feeding the Khmer Rouge regime that claimed nearly 2 million lives. Eventually, some of these survivors settled in Stockton and the Lewis Park neighborhood, with local news reporting how Stockton had received the cream of the crop who, despite their high education, lacked job opportunities. Combine this with intergenerational trauma that the next generation carried over from their parents who had literally escaped a genocide, it didn't take long for these displaced youngsters to become entrenched in the local gang life, with the Black Bloods of Lewis Park integrated the newly arriving Cambodian teenagers into their street ranks. By the 1990s, the Lewis Park Bloods had transformed into a mixed race gang, blending traditional blood symbols with Cambodian cultural influences. And today, people of Cambodian heritage make up the majority of that gang. This is something that's been documented in recent hood vlogs in the area from top-tier YouTubers like Tommy G. The gang that operates around Pixie Drive in West Stockton, right next to Lewis Park.
Stockton, Lewis Park, man. Tapping in, finna show y'all around my hood and everything.
Only side in Stockton, all diamonds. Only side of Stockton. The other side.
Yeah, it's all Bloods over here, you feel me? We don't click up with nobody or nothing, you feel me? It's just all us out here.
You know, we get it back in, man.
My Diablo, that's our exit right there. We surrounded by water. Over here on that side is water, that side is water, back there is water.
And includes several up-and-coming rappers, the most notable being Bounce Back Meek and Javin 2900, who both have millions of views on their music videos on YouTube. Another relevant gang would be in the headlines in 2017, as a 2-year operation targeting a gang known as the Northside Gangster Crips came to a close, leading to a takedown of more than 20 members, who were tied to a string of shootings, robberies, gun crimes, and drug trafficking charges stretching all the way from Stockton to Reno, Nevada.
Officers made 15 additional stops throughout the city, seizing cocaine, heroin, prescription drugs, and firearms. 12 people were arrested in Stockton, but the search didn't end there.
These subjects were then driving to Nevada and selling the narcotics at a much higher price than could be sold for in Stockton.
Nearly 200 miles away, investigators found more drugs and guns in Reno and arrested 11 more people. The investigation uncovered the alleged involvement of a San Joaquin County correctional officer.
Yet despite the arrests, the operation barely dented one of Stockton's most deeply rooted gang sets, which continues to operate from its stronghold in North Stockton around Townhomes Drive and Bianchi Lane, where the older generation commonly identifies as 400, while younger members adopted 500, both derived from the two main blocks within their hood.
Where you at?
400 and 500.
It's like the older and the younger.
The younger 500.
But it's still, it's still.
Man, I mean, that's all the same. You know what I'm saying? The 5 and 5, all the same.
However, despite the gang's decades-long presence, it has relatively little presence in the Stockton rap scene, with only a few artists representing them on the music side, such as rappers known as Demeem, aka Lil Cuz 1090, and 500 Warrant, who made headlines after the Stockton mass shooting when he publicly came out and said he condoned this ruthless attack that killed 3 innocent children.
Bro, and they're talking about they don't condone like that. Sound like a... We condone all that. We condone it, but we didn't do it. So, oh God, don't put that on us. Bro, we condone this though, cause we shoot that with their kids.
In the years leading up to 2019, a crew named EBK, short for Everybody Killer, was steadily appearing in police investigations across Stockton as the gang became tied to more and more shootings and violent crimes. Before long, that rise in violence set the stage for EBK's first major takedown, when 9 members were arrested in June 2019, 2 of them getting charged with the shooting death of 34-year-old Ronald Celestine.
Tonight, 9 people are under arrest in Stockton, all in connection with the street gang crackdown. 2 of these 9 people were arrested in connection to the shooting death of Ronald Celestine back on May 1st. Celestine was shot and killed in the area of March Lane and Holiday Drive. Now, the other 7 were arrested on various charges ranging from felonies for miscellaneous warrants. The suspects range in age from 18 to 40. And according to the San Joaquin County DA's office, EBK stands for Everybody Killer and represents a gang policy of open warfare.
And at the heart of EBK's identity was its home turf in southeast Stockton.
That was boo, I ain't gonna lie. Southeast. South. It's in the southeast. It's southeast, though. That's where I really grew up.
Centered around the 2100 block of Nightingale Avenue, which you saw I visited at the start of this video, this was an area that the late rapper Young Slo-Be showcased in a hood vlog on the Thizzler YouTube channel in 2022. The music crew and an alleged gang known as EBK was born around 2016 or 17, but the identity around 2100 Nightingale goes back generations. This hood, including particularly Black and Latino members, with the older members repping particularly the Crips, whereas the younger generation tend to rep the Bloods. EBK is of course primarily known through the music of Stockton's most buzzing street rapper, EBK Jaaybo, who has released numerous songs and music videos with millions of views. His most popular being the 2024 track Boogie Man, which has a music video with over 26 million views, as well as a wide-reaching police investigation named after it. As Jaaybo has told in interviews, he grew up primarily in a neighborhood that the locals call Crow Valley, located roughly southwest from 2100 Nightingale, but his connection to that hood was strong through his father, who repped 2100, while Jaaybo's grandmother would continue to live in the neighborhood through Jaaybo's childhood.
All Mexicans. I grew up with all Mexicans, literally, in Crow Valley. For me, I'm from Nightingale, but I grew up in Crow Valley.
How far is that from Stockton?
Crow Valley?
Yeah.
It's in Stockton. It's in the south. It's in the southeast.
Okay, so that's like a little subsection
down the
type.
street, Nightingale, but it's not like driving is close, but if you walking, you looking at like 20 minutes or something.
Okay.
But it's all in the south, though. You feel me? But it's the southeast, though. That's where I really grew up. You feel me? I grew up in Crow Valley, but my granny lived in Nightingale.
Other popular rappers from EBK include Young Slo-Be, who was making a lot of noise in the early 2020s, even getting features from artists like LA legend, the late Draco the Ruler, whose iconic rapping style Jaaybo and other EBK members would arguably be influenced by wholeheartedly. There's also EBK Young Jock, who used to do music together with the other EBK members under the group name EBK Hot Boys before he would have a falling out with Jaaybo and begin repping his own version of EBK, which for him stands for Every Brother Counts. Other key members include Jaaybo's brother, EBK Osama, who started the crew, EBK Juvie or Juvie Jew, EBK Backdoe, EBK Mad Max, EBK Baby Max, EBK Turtle, EBK Pig, EBK Lebo, EBK Lil Play, EBK Trey B, EBK Lil Sleaze, and many others. The following year, after EBK's first major police takedown, the law enforcement shifted their focus towards gangs who would become EBK's perhaps biggest enemies, and ultimately the alleged targets of the 2025 mass shooting. In 2020, the cleverly named Operation Kryptonite targeted multiple majority Crip street gangs, including members of another rival clique known as the Fly Boyz or Muddy Boys, aka Mud Brothers, or simply FB and MB.
At Operation Kryptonite Takedown, after serving 55 search warrants, investigators arrested 34 suspected gang members.
Notably, the 5-month investigation led to the indictment of rising Stockton rappers from these cliques known as MB Nell and bands, spelt B-Cans MB3s, with the B being followed by a K for Blood Killer. A terrifying presence in the Stockton rap scene, Bands would only start making noise in the music game 4 years later, although in the streets he had allegedly already made his mark. This is something we'll get into later in the video. These cliques, which include many different races and ethnicities, including Asian, Black, and Latino members, had their origins in an earlier Stockton street gang known as 8th Street Mob.
I go by G-Ro, aka Papa Fly. I'm an original 8th Street Mob, South Mob Fly Boy from the south side of Stockton, California. Being from Northern California, I don't believe back in the 80s and 90s we got the notoriety like we got now. And I believe that's due to the rap industry now, you know, that brought Northern California to the forefront with a lot of the rap that's going on these days.
According to OG Papa Fly, 8th Street operated as a mixture for many different gangs, including both Bloods and Crips, starting in the 1980s and continuing to the present day.
The section I'm from, which is the south side of Stockton, the mob, we're one of the oldest hoods in Stockton, if not the oldest hood in Stockton. We always had a reputation of being, you know, we always had Bloods and Crips since the 80s. which a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think that the hoods that have Bloods and Crips are new or cliques, which ours wasn't. Ours always been since the beginning. We had red rags, blue rags, and black rags. To this day we do. You know, we had 3 generations of the mob. You had the original 8th Street mob, which I was from. You had South Mob Gangsters, SMG, that was the next generation. And then you have the young homies, which is Fly Boyz 3Z, that's out now. You know, I would say right now, they're one of the most hated hoods in Stockton.
In his No Jumper interview, Bands broke down his gang's politics, explaining that rag colors don't determine their alliances and that their ultimate loyalty lies with the block, specifically the 8th Street mob.
Know who I'm talking about? My right-hand man is a Damu. This is my big bro right here. Like, this is one of my older homies. Like, this is I call my big brother. But when it come down to politicking about shit, I might call it, but he's a Damu. And be like, how the fuck are you?
Colors up to.
How the fuck are you running with a Damu? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm extra on what I'm on. I got my blue rag with me on the dead homies for the they know on Crip. But before I answer to a blue or red rag, I'm gonna answer to the 8th Street mob.
Finally, Bands would explain that the 3s at the end of his name represents a 3-block alliance along 8th Street, these being BMF, Money Click, and the Fly Boyz.
Can we break down the name? Because to a lot of people, they have no f***ing clue what to call you when they see your name on the YouTube video. And then you break it down, it's just Bands. But there's a K after the B.
Yeah, I'm a Kiwi.
Right.
For sure.
And then there's a Z, so it's Band with a Z. And then MB3Z, so the MB is Mud Brothers, and the 3Z is what?
Threes. The 3s, man.
Oh, okay.
3s,
BMF, Money Click, Fly Boyz. There we go.
20, 22, 23, 98, man.
That way. What's that beat exactly? The blocks.
I'm from the 8.
That's all the block.
So, it's 8th Street.
It's a long street.
And these, man, we done lost from every one of these blocks, and we done gained every one of these blocks with these man.
Under this broader 8th Street umbrella was also the Filipino Crip set that MB Nell was born into.
Where I grew up in South Stockton, Southwest to be exact, but I say South Stockton, 8th Street. And my cousins and older uncles and all that, they was banging a Crip gang with like Filipinos in the area, and then there's like, and we kind of really, it wasn't us being in their gang. We kind of just was in the hood with them. We was in the hood, and we just young cats. We in the hood. We just kind of we just doing our own thing, really.
Located near Matty Harrell Park, he and the younger generation of Crips in the area first called themselves the Matty Boys, and that name eventually evolved into Mud Brothers or the Muddy Boys clique.
So, MB Nell, the MB part stands for Muddy Boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Muddy Boys.
So why that name?
It's just we from the mud. We all brothers. So Muddy Boys. It's multiple. We have in our inner circle. It's different names for it. Our park that we be at and in the hood on 8th Street Southwest is Matty Harrell Park. So like it was like Matty Boys, then Muddy Boys because we all from the mud.
But besides an alleged gang, they're also a record label.
MB is not a hood. Okay. MB is not a branch of nothing that has to do with a hood. That is a rap label that is used to make sure that that want to succeed in life, like bro, we gonna fall in this label. We gonna do what we gotta do. We gonna stay out of trouble. We gonna move out of the way. We gonna do this. We gonna do that so we could get underneath this MB label. That's gonna allow us to take us and our kids to the next step to where we ain't gotta deal with none of this.
And the most notable rappers under the Fly Boyz and Muddy Boys include the already mentioned MB Nell, Bands, as well as rappers like Nano MB, Flyboy Dougie, aka Dougie 3s, 20 Main 3s, and Boy Boy Gunner 98. Unfortunately, many of the people who you've just been introduced to would end up playing a direct role in a deadly gang war that wound up causing untold death and destruction. And not just for the gang members who were willing participants in the war, but also for the innocent men, women, and children who were simply unlucky enough to just find themselves trying to get through the day in this cursed community. But as far as EBK EBK Jaaybo, it would be in 2015 when a tragic murder would take place in the heart of the community that he made famous, an incident that changed the trajectory of his life forever. So just 5 minutes away from the 2100 block of Nightingale Avenue is the Reverend Charles R. Holmes Park. This is actually where EBK Jaaybo's father, James Gorman Jr., Rrari, shot his most popular music video, a tribute to Luther Champ Brown, who was killed by Stockton police in April 2012. On the 4th of January 2015, an incident took place that forever changed the life of young EBK Jaaybo. That morning, a couple of youngsters were at the Unity Park in North Stockton when two older teens, Lester Hands and Teddy Mahan, would rob the boys of their shoes and cash at gunpoint. It's often considered that one of these robbery victims was none other than EBK Jaaybo himself, although Jaaybo has denied ever being robbed that day.
He, like, the shit he said about my pops, like, bro, that cat, bro, like, I never got robbed. He was like, he made the little swamp stories, he said I got robbed or whatever the case may be. Finna get into that,
but what we do know from official sources is that at least one of the kids was a teenage son of Jaaybo's father, James Gorman Jr., also known in the Stockton rap scene by his artist name Lil Mondo, a moniker that he went by during the 2000s, and Rrari, the nickname that he used in the early 2010s to drop numerous music videos on YouTube. Given that Jaaybo was only 11 at the time and not even a teenager yet, it's likely that the victim of the robbery was in fact one of Jaaybo's big brothers. But in any case, Rrari would hear about what took place and he would go out later that day to look for the people responsible. Just a 7-minute drive from the park where the robbery had taken place in the 9300 block of Dalewood Street, Jaaybo's father was reportedly searching for those responsible for the robbery when he would have a confrontation with at least 3 other men before someone would take out a gun and shoot him. Another man would then drive Rrari less than 2 miles from the shooting location to the intersection of Hammer Lane and Lanark Drive, where their car would reportedly get a flat tire. As the police and medics arrived at that scene, they would find Rrari sitting in the car, suffering from soon-to-be fatal gunshot wounds, and he would indeed pass away soon after at the hospital, becoming the very first homicide victim of 2015 in Stockton. A few days later, 16-year-old Lester Hands and 17-year-old Teddy Mahan were arrested for the robbery of Rrari's son, and Lester Hands was also connected to the homicide of Rrari, although many think that the killer was actually someone else. Only 2 days before his untimely death, Rrari had posted on his Facebook how he was sitting in his Porsche, the very same car where he would be shot, showing his discharge papers after successfully completing his parole. But despite his legal problems, Rrari had seemingly been very close with his children, and his death would arguably change the life of a young Jaaybo forever, sending him down a dark path of death and revenge, with him later rapping in his songs how he, or at least his soul, died that day with his father. Given where Rrari was killed, it's often considered that his killers may have been part of the Northside Gangster Crips, explaining Jaaybo's hate towards the gang from townhomes. And to further support this theory, members of the set have kept dissing Rrari to this very day, even taunting Jaaybo by saying that he caused his father's death.
You know what I'm saying? You stupid lummy, you a dummy. Scary, got your dad smokes. Take a look in the mirror, see your dad's ghost? Roll Rrari in a swisher, wrapping tight with a white sheet. Man down, knock him down, face down. See what wake J Money up and knock him cack out. Why this little keep saying my name for clout? Gangsters don't talk, so I'ma shut my mouth.
However, while the death of his dad was likely the first step for Jaaybo towards the streets, it was likely the events of the following year in 2016 that made him truly hop off the porch and get active with the EBK.
Made EBK like, 2016, 15 or something like that. I hopped in the field like 2016, so it's like, that's when I started going to.
Jaaybo's father had been a beloved OG in the 2100 Nightingale hood.
That right there, that's 2100 right there. That's NG, Nightingale right there, spell it. From the Deuces to the Deuce 4. Never know more. R.I.P. Corey C. A.B. Picture right now. You know what I'm saying? Off top.
And one of the most affected by his death was one of his best friends from the hood called Kasino Royale, or simply Kasino, real name Roy Padilla Sr. But unfortunately, Kasino would also suffer the same fate the following year, and he would be gunned down on the 9th of July 2016 in the 4400 block of Cotton Court, this location also being in North Stockton where Jaaybo's father had been shot. And interestingly, this time very much in the heart of the Northside Gangster Crips hood near the Townhome Drive. However, also Kasino's murder would go unsolved, even though his family would state on social media that the police had ample opportunity to catch the assailants. Online speculation also alleged that beyond representing Nightingale, Kasino's affiliation with the Latino gang the Norteños, who were rivals of the Northside Crips, made him a target. For Jaaybo, Kasino had been like an uncle, and his death has clearly affected him to this very day, which is why Jaaybo has a large Kasino tattoo right above his left eye, as well as a large Kasino world chain.
What's the name above your eyebrow there too?
Kasino.
That's your pops?
Nah, my pop's Rrari, bro. Kasino, he from the hood. That's like my uncle.
Family though.
Yeah, that's
okay.
one of my
That's what I
pop's
was
best
thinking.
friends. On my mama, we Kasino world for sure.
You want to tell me about Kasino a little bit? Because I know you got it on your face and you got the chain going on. Like, what was your relationship with him like?
It's like my uncle. Not my blood uncle, but it's how I see him as an uncle.
Uh-huh.
Me as one of my dad's closest friends when I was younger.
And he just died recently?
Nah, he died like, what, 2016?
Oh, okay. And you must have had a really close relationship with him if you're putting him on your face and on your chain, huh?
It's my uncle, bro.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Definitely.
Like his father Rrari, Jaaybo has later also mentioned Kasino numerous times in his songs, like mentioning how some people from his hood didn't slide after Kasino's death, and on the other hand, how he definitely did slide, with old social media posts from EBK members showing that Kasino's murder actually started the gang's first war in the streets against the Northside Crips, centered around the Townhomes Drive. Meanwhile, EBK and the Fly Boyz gang were still on the same side at this point, united against their northern rivals rather than each other. In fact, several Fly Boyz members, including the rapper Boy Gunna 98, later explained how close the groups had initially been, having grown up practically right next door from each other.
We kind of, I wouldn't say we grew up together though, but like I said, we lived in Crow Valley. Like, he lived in Crow Valley. My mom was still, we was in Crow Valley for hella long. My mom was still in Crow Valley. And his mama lived right around the corner from me when I was about 15, 14, and him being 2 years younger than me, he about 12, feel me? That was my little bro, my mama.
According to Boy, they begun rapping around the same time and eventually released a full project.
So we always been buzzing. We started rapping for around the same time. It's a slapper on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram, on SoundCloud with me and bro. We got probably a whole project on that.
For how many songs? Hella songs? Like y'all recorded hella songs together type?
Bro, it's probably like 8 songs.
Damn.
When we was like 14.
Even now, a 2019 snippet of one of their songs remains online. Boy has also mentioned that Jaaybo had hopped off the porch early and was known for robbing, this likely beginning to take place not long after Jaaybo's father passed away.
I was doing other, I was already into really doing a move on. He was like, he really showed me like robbing that side for real. I wasn't really robbing, I was already graduated. You feel me? I was already, you know what I mean? But that was robbing, and I was like, ooh, that's going crazy with that. No cap, coming back with. I was having it though, feel me? Type.
After the tragic loss of his father, Jaaybo began taking music seriously, encouraged by one of his father's close friends.
I always liked rap music, but I started rapping when I turned like 12. Like after Pops died, I made my first song. It did help though, Killer G though, free that though. On my mama, he was pushing it, bro. He the reason why like EBK, like he paid for like the videos we got on Rap Shack and shit, Sweet Lady and shit. The homie from the hood, he the one that was pushing us, bro, because we was just trying to be on some Nightingale, like everybody we rapping, but we not taking it serious.
But the reality was, behind his art was the real-life culture of gangs and violent crime. And according to Jaaybo, the consequences of living this life were real and started early. From just age 14, he would spend every single birthday behind bars until he turned 22.
How long you been locked up for, bro?
I just did it. I did a year, but I bailed out. I did a year, bailed out, and then I came back into the year. They gave me three years, 8 months.
Word. So you damn near been in and out for your whole life.
Yeah, I ain't had a birthday out since I was 14. I've been locked up for every birthday since I was 14 years old.
In fact, he even dealt with California's gang enhancement penal codes so frequently that he would claim that he could recite them word for word. Now, it's important to note that his transition to the streets wasn't instantaneous. It was a shift that accelerated rapidly after his father died.
But your Pops was a street though.
Yeah, Pops was in the field.
So
I was
it probably
shit,
was been like that.
Shit, Pops was doing it, but like I didn't know.
Right.
But when I got in the field, it was hectic for sure. For my little like 7 years being like thugging.
Cool kid, Pops passed, I'm thugging, or was it different?
I mean, like, when Pops passed, my mindset wasn't just like, oh, my Pops gone, okay, I'm in the field now. And just transitioned into that, like, I can't even tell you how it happened, bro, because it's just like I'm thugged out now, it's regular now. But I honestly don't know. I can't tell you, bro.
He kept it honest on No Jumper, admitting that he wasn't a victim of circumstance. This was a life that he chose.
Because I'm not no fake, bro. I'm not gonna act like I just been in the field.
Right, whole life.
Yeah, bro. About time I hopped in the field, my mom had already retired because my pops, I'm 19 right now, so my My pops died 2015. I wasn't in the field yet, bro. So like, I started going to juvenile hall probably like 2016.
According to Jaaybo, one of his first arrests was for stealing a car, which landed him in juvenile hall.
What kind of were you getting into that had you going to juvenile hall that young?
I was like, when I first like hopped in the field, I was into stealing cars. I ain't gonna lie.
You what is it, bipping?
Nah, I wasn't bipping. Like,
You were a Kia boy?
We bipped. We got to that. But like when I first started, like I was really into taking cars. Like that just was hella cool to me. I don't know why. Like I'd be walking, like my first case I caught, the case closed, I already got the time for it. I just seen a car, I hopped in that. My mama.
And just did your Dougie.
Got up out of there and went to school.
When you go, that's what you did?
Oh, he went to school, that's right.
Instantly with the flag. So.
But even during those stints inside and outside of jail, he started releasing tracks alongside original members of EBK from Nightingale, specifically the 2100 and 2500 blocks. This was an alliance that stood tall for many years, and the reason why some EBK members, such as EBK Pig, also go by Pig 2125. Over time, however, the collective started expanding its reach and connecting with other rappers and hoods like the late EBK young Slo-Be, who had ties to San Diego.
San Diego was really like important to him type. Like,
God.
That was San Diego will always be a part of his story type.
That's a second home type. Like, bro, with the Biddy, and the Biddy love that. On God, like, you know, but brother came to the Biddy, he had a couple episodes, and you know what I mean. He lived out there, you know what I mean. So, bro, you know the vibes. On God.
The roster would continue to grow with popular current members like EBK Lebo, hailing from 300 block in Blackgate, located in downtown Stockton.
I'm here with the Gravedigger, EBK Lebo. Let them know where we at right now.
Mama, we are in the heart of downtown. We right here on the Marianis, the most notorious block down here.
What part of Stockton is this right here?
It's downtown Stockton, bro. Where we get the janky, it's at. Babies.
And this downtown isn't like the rest of the downtown?
Ain't like downtown. Look around. You see how the downtowns, you'll see big skyscrapers. You don't see none of that down here. It's trenches.
And even repping all the way from Utah, honorary member Lil Brazy made his stance clear in a 2025 interview, issuing blunt threats about what he'd do if he ever crossed paths with the alleged Fly Boyz shooter Bands.
What would you do if you ran into Bands?
BK Bands, I'm smacking the shit out of it.
Kind of knew you were going to say that, but yeah.
Smacking the dog out of
So anybody who's a Jaaybo op is just really not somebody that you're a big fan of.
But a huge part of Jaaybo's identity in music had always been his native area of Nightingale, with the J from his name itself being a double entendre related to both Jordan Court and the literal J shape of Nightingale Street itself, and this was a place that he defined as the home of the killers. Jaaybo would end up claiming the crown of the most beloved rapper making drill music in Stockton through his disrespectful lyrics, catchy songs, and arguably over-the-top self-snitching that in hindsight made the authorities' job much easier. Despite success in rap like his 2024 track I Don't Feel Alive, Jaaybo would actually reveal that the fame of becoming the most poppin' rapper in the Stockton streets didn't truly make him happy. On the track, Jaaybo would describe himself as being in zombie mode, emotionally numb, yet still willing to slide and put his life on the line for his people. And he would explain how he prepares for court as if it was just a routine. Because of this reality he was living, when Jaaybo finally became an international name in the rap game, he had to celebrate that success from behind bars. However, Jaaybo wasn't the only one whose promising future was hijacked by the streets. Nearly 8 years before releasing his first song, Bands from the Muddy Boys and Fly Boyz was chasing hoop dreams and planning a career in basketball. At the time, he was described as a quick guard who used changes of speed to break down defenses, showing the kind of discipline and focus he had on the court that potentially pointed towards a bright future away from the streets. But somewhere along the way, that path shifted. And over the next 8 years, Bands would go on to claim responsibility for more than 3 bodies tied to the Fly Boyz' longtime rivals, the Westside Lewis Park Bloods.
Oh, on the other side, yeah.
What did I say?
2,900K.
What is it? What is the top?
Above that, it's got a W.
With what in it?
It's like a W with bullet holes.
How many?
3.
Okay.
Yet Bands was still connected to the music industry from early on though, through his cousin MB Nell, a connection that he told Adam22 opened the door for the Fly Boyz to enter into the rap game.
Been around rap for a minute, like my cousin, MB Nell is my folks. He's not a homie, he's not my friend, that's my real cousin. Cuz his own person. But at the same way, Cuz paved a lot of the way for us to get into where we at now.
However, during MB Nell's early rise in 2016, much of the Fly Boyz crews was still locked up.
In 2016, 17, okay, when I Love My Gang, I think that's his first M to really go up. But a lot of our homies was in the pen. So as it goes back, like a lot of our homies wasn't peeing, like I said though.
Then by 2018, the streets fully caught up with him when the police pulled over 2 suspects, including a then 19-year-old Bandz, real name Reynico Flores, and searched their vehicle, finding a loaded handgun, narcotics, and evidence of drug sales, along with a disturbing-looking mask, suggesting the pair may have been out robbing. At that point, it appeared that Bandz was already deeply embedded in his gang's alleged drug operation in Stockton, but it would be after he got out that he would allegedly catch his first body. On the 26th of June 2019, officers were dispatched to the corner of Hickok and Comstock after reports of shots fired and a victim down. This location, interestingly, being only a half a mile away from the location where the mass shooting would take place years later. When they arrived, they found 22-year-old Elijah Johnson suffering from a gunshot wound in front of a house and rushed him to the hospital, but unfortunately, he later died from his injuries. Witnesses described the suspect as a Hispanic male in his early 20s, about 6 feet tall with a thin build, wearing a dark hoodie and possibly connected to a maroon vehicle. According to his longtime partner Elijah, better known in the streets as Eli, an alleged member of the Lewis Park Bloods, he'd been trying to turn his life around, and before his death, he had sent her a text messages expressing desire to change and fear that someone was going to take him away from their kids. But sadly, she didn't get a chance to reply, and less than 4 hours later, Eli was shot while standing outside his grandmother's house. Stockton police didn't provide a motive for the shooting, but according to Elijah's own social media posts, he was an active member of his set, and by the following year, the Lewis Park's main rivals, the Fly Boyz and Muddy Boys, were beginning to claim the hit, such as on the 2020 track 201916, where MB Nell rapped how they left someone leaking in front of his mama's porch, and on an unreleased version of his 2023 track Spin, where MB Nell rapped how Eli didn't make it after they caught him loafing and drenched him. Despite the shooter acting in broad daylight with no mask on, it would take almost 6 years for the Stockton police to make an arrest, but finally in January 2025, they would take Bandz off the streets and charge him with the murder of Eli. But unfortunately by that point, he had allegedly already got several more bodies under his belt, even labeling himself as the King Von of Stockton during his 2024 vlog with the Oregon and Park ENT YouTube channel.
That's regular. You know what I mean? They thought I was King Von or Stockton or something because I'm on that, and I got a bag. And I'm finna pass that bag out.
Even back in 2019, just weeks after Elijah's murder, Bandz was arrested again by the Stockton police, following a 911 call from a motorist that said a vehicle pulled alongside him and that the front passenger pointed a gun at him for no apparent reason. When officers located the vehicle and searched it, they recovered the reported firearm along with marijuana packaged for sale, and Bandz would be charged with 5 felonies, including possession of a controlled substance for sale while armed with a loaded large-capacity firearm. Then, just a year later, Bandz made it out just in time for the Stockton police to launch their comically named Operation Kryptonite, the 3-month investigation that targeted multiple majority Crip gangs across Stockton. As mentioned, notable arrests among the list of 34 people included Band's cousin, MB Nell, who faced relatively minor charges of drug possession and having a false compartment in his vehicle, and he would get bailed out almost immediately. 21-year-old Bandz, on the other hand, alongside a 70-year-old family member, were arrested on charges of unemployment insurance fraud, identity theft, and illegal sale of firearms. But meanwhile in the streets, a major indictment like this one would begin to cause some major unrest, because every time OGs were taken off the streets, their gang would lose structure that had kept their organization more focused on meaningful endeavors like making money through numerous hustles, while the younger members would become increasingly entrenched in petty beefs over relatively minor issues. The development would later be explained by the Fly Boyz member Twanny Main during a No Jumper interview, while discussing the eventual split between their gang and EBK.
I said, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, yeah, it was all one. We be out there getting money, all the shit, you feel me? And then, like you said, like, you know, like how happens, the older go to jail, you know, disappear, the structure get lost, you feel me? So, and then that's when it just picks up from there. It could be anybody. It could be a little 14-year-old when did this and that. Now he the one's making the shots. And then he'll have all these under him.
Coming into 2021, it seems that this beef between the Fly Boyz and EBK would quickly turn deadly, with the first victim seemingly being someone who was unable to choose their side before it was too late.
I'm now at 7th and Nightingale, a spot that you might recognize from EBK Jaaybo's song 7th Street Baby, but it's also the area where a young man named J Jona lost his life in January 2021, allegedly this being one of the first killings in the start of the war between EBK and the Fly Boyz.
On the 14th of January at around 5:30 PM, shots rang out near 7th Street and Nightingale Avenue, right in the heart of the hood, claimed by EBK and the broader 2100 Nightingale community. However, by the time officers arrived, the victim had already been transported to the hospital, where he later died from his injuries. Police identified him as 28-year-old Jordan Jacoby Scott Thomas, known by his friends as JJ or J Jona. What actually led up to the shooting remained unclear to investigators, but his online footprint would provide some interesting tidbits of information, including the fact that Jona was seemingly affiliated with both both the Fly Boyz, aka the Threes, as well as being part of the older generation of Nightingale members and the blood brother of Nightingale OG and rapper Duffel Sixbag. While in old photos, Jonah can even be seen alongside EBK Jaaybo's late father. Naturally, public speculation after Jonah's murder framed it as a retaliation by Nightingale's rivals. However, Jonah's family's response seemed to complicate that narrative, with requests explicitly warning that no kind of arguments or beefing would be tolerated at the funeral, the implication being that there might have been some deep-seated internal conflicts going on within the Nightingale community. The heart of the issue may have been the fact that while Jonah was heavily banging Nightingale up until his death, he had also made it clear a long time ago that he had repped the Fly Boyz over everything. It seems that this may have become a major issue, particularly for the younger generation repping EBK, and after Jonah's death, Jaaybo would openly diss him in several songs, even shockingly implying that he had something to do with the murder. Other EBK artists have also rapped some questionable lyrics that could be related to the murder, such as the 2025 song Ain't Adding Up by EBK Lebo and EBK Pig, where Lebo first disses several dead Fly Boyz members, before Pig mentions how one of their beefs started after he popped one of the members of this rival gang, his context seemingly implying that the gang he was talking about was indeed the Fly Boyz. While the EBK crew's profile in the music game continued to rise in the late 2010s, unfortunately, their involvement in serious criminal activity never fully stopped, and one incident that took place in April 2018 would later contribute to some serious internal fractures within the EBK crew. According to court documents, Jaaybo's brother Osama and another EBK member Rrari B traveled nearly an hour and a half from Stockton to Redwood City to meet a seller advertising marijuana on Craigslist. After inspecting the product, both sides agreed on a $4,000 price, with each party leaving the parking lot to retrieve either the marijuana or the cash. However, when the sellers returned with the marijuana, Rrari B allegedly brandished a firearm while EBK Osama attempted to grab the product, and as the sellers tried to drive off, Rrari B would allegedly open fire, striking one man multiple times and leaving him critically injured. This incident seemingly piquing the authorities' interests towards not just Osama and Rrari, but the EBK crew as a whole. This was followed just months later by another robbery that Rrari B would apparently be implicated in, where he and at least 11 others attempted to hit a marijuana grow, making use of masks, rifles, and handguns.
This noon hour, we're learning more about the suspects in a robbery of a marijuana grow. The Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office arrested Joshua Hawkins Butler, Kenneth Duckett, and Kari Moore. However, deputies say there were at least 12 suspects spotted in surveillance. Authorities recovered 2 AK-47s, an AR-15, and 3 handguns.
And then, nearly a year later, on October the 1st, 2020, EBK Osama was formally indicted in connection with the failed 2018 Craigslist robbery, along with additional drug trafficking charges. Both men ultimately pleaded guilty, but by the time the sentencing arrived, EBK Rrari B received nearly 7 years in federal prison, while EBK Osama was sentenced to just 12 months and 1 day, followed by supervised release. Among the two sides of the EBK camp, questions began to arise surrounding how Osama was indicted in the first place, and why Rrari B only received 7 years and Osama only 1. Over the next few years, tensions grew between two of EBK's biggest rappers, Rrari B's brother EBK Young Jock and EBK Osama's brother EBK Jaaybo. The situation escalated when alleged paperwork began circulating, tying Rrari B to snitching on a marijuana case, and these rumors would soon spill out into the open.
I'm on my way to 2-1 right now. Where you at? Hey, I'm on my way to 2-1 right now. Where you at? I'm on my way to Nightingale right now. I want that fade, blood. Shut up. Use a rat. Use a rat. Shut up. Ain't no justifying it. You told on the weed case. You told on some marijuana. Shut up. You want to link up at the mall, bro? We can link up somewhere cordial, bro. I'll beat y'all. I didn't been popped before. Listen, bro. Listen, bro. I eat bullets. I eat bullets. Being get popped can't kill me.
While incarcerated, EBK Osama also accused Rrari B of snitching on a jail call, threatening his family and revealing that other EBK members were upset because he didn't post free Rrari B.
On my mama, but when I see your mama, bro, I'm going to slap it like that on 2-1. When I see your baby, I'm slapping that too. On everything I love. When I see Rrari baby, I'm beating her too. On 3 bucks, I've been giving y'all passes, bro. On my mama, y'all my blood cousins. Love y'all, bro. Y'all is out of pocket, though. You really raps, though. Really snitching is, I don't feel like it's cool. Y'all mad at me because I didn't say free Rrari B because snitch. He made a statement and got me indicted federally, bro. Federally, bro. Got me indicted for some shit I didn't even get caught for. Because you wanted to snitch on some about some weed. Why you couldn't just do 2 years, bro? Why you couldn't just do your job?
But not everyone agreed with this narrative, and in a later interview, EBK Young Jock defended his brother and said that he only told on himself.
Mentioning a lot in your songs, so who is Rrari to you?
Rrari, that's my blood brother, that's my big brother. You talking crazy on you and down on you on some work, but it wasn't even like that, feel me? Brother, if that's my big brother, he might just say a little bit too much about him, feel me? But yeah.
Similarly, EBK Trey B later came to Rrari B's defense, pushing back on the snitching allegations and saying that Rrari B had told on imaginary people.
People be trying to throw on Rrari name. Could you clear that up if you want to?
Oh God. Bro ain't tell on nobody. Bro ain't snitch on nobody. Ain't no go to jail behind what he said or none of that type. He
like,
just, the police just asked him a question. He just made up an answer, like, just made some up, like, which is what he supposed to do. Police ask you, where'd you get this gun from? I bought it from a random, I don't know who.
Yeah.
You feel me? And they tried to say he told. Bro.
Yeah.
But at the time this paperwork was released, cracks inside the EBK camp were already becoming visible. In an unreleased 2019 track, EBK Jaaybo accused Rrari of folding under pressure after being faced with a potential 20-year sentence. In the same song, Jaaybo revealed that while he considered it snitching, not everyone in the gang felt the same way. The internal divide would peak in late 2021 when EBK Trey B aligned with Rrari B and EBK Young Jock, releasing paperwork alleging EBK Osama had informed on a separate case. The division would split the gang into two, one being the EBK Young Jock side, who began calling their version of EBK Every Brother Counts, while the original EBK, or Everybody Killer, crew would fall in line behind EBK Jaaybo. And as Jaaybo searched for new alliances against his ops, he would end up bringing in newer EBK members like EBK Pig, also known as Paypig 2125, who had long ties to the Westside Lewis Park Bloods, one of the Fly Boyz' biggest rivals.
We for sure with the G's though, with the girls and some black gay. I wouldn't say tied in though.
And how did you guys grow that connection with EBK, Black Gates, and all that?
Really just like streets, you know, just went to school with some of us grew up with each other. Like Pig, I've been knowing Pig damn near since I was 12 years old. Like I've been knowing that for hella long. Like that's big bro, so.
The murder of Eli from the Lewis Park Bloods had started a chain reaction, a war in the streets that may have ultimately led to the most tragic event in Stockton's recent history. But the next major casualty in that war would come a few years later in 2022. Just before 9:30 p.m. on Monday the 21st of February, officers responded to a shooting on South Airport Way, just south of the San Joaquin County Fairgrounds. At the scene, they found David Carlos, also known as Cholo, an alleged member of the Fly Boyz, in critical condition, and they would rush him to hospital, where he would unfortunately succumb to his injuries on March the 7th, only one day after his 35th birthday. The loss would hit the Fly Boyz and their allies especially hard, as Cholo had been part of the older generation and was often mentioned alongside other Fly Boy OGs.
That's for my dead homies. This block right here, the blocks that we taking you to, this damn block's been popping before even spit a verse. Real shit. Here, RP Los. On my mama, and shout out my dad and bro for getting it popping. King B, all them GG, Cholo, 20. Come on, Papa Fly. Hella going on.
As a tribute, members of the Fly Boyz honored his memory by adopting his other nickname, Choke, and referring to themselves as Choke City.
Everybody that pushing that, never too enough, no fake. Choke City, Fly City. I'm Choke City though. You hear me?
Meanwhile, the Stockton police were asking for the public's help in identifying those responsible, particularly two individuals who had been captured in a security camera.
In Stockton have released new images of suspects from a homicide investigation. The Stockton Police Department says 34-year-old David Carlos died back in February after being shot at the Southside Market on Airport Way. Investigators say they are following several solid leads, but they say they need help identifying the suspects. They're asking anybody to call who may have relevant information.
Police described one person of interest as a heavy-set man in his mid-20s, wearing glasses, dark clothing, and a black sweatshirt with a BBB logo on the front. A logo that even people in the comments linked to Bounce Back Meek, who often referred to his Lewis Park Bloods as the Bounce Back Boys. Attention quickly turned to a Lewis Park member known as Xhubbz, spelt with an X instead of a C, effectively whacking out the C as a disrespect to the Crips, whose build seemed to match the description almost perfectly. Xhubbz was also making music under the rapper name 12187 Miyagi, rapping in the 2020 song Sucker diss, together with another Lewis Park blood known as Pyru Briss, how his ops seemingly hated him so much that they were ready to kill him on sight. The music video for this song also prominently featured the same BBB acronym that the shooter was seen wearing. People online also identified the shorter individual as EBK Pig, the suggestion perhaps being that if EBK carried out the hit, wearing a Bounce Back Boys hoodie would be an effective way to throw off the investigators. But whoever was truly responsible, the Fly Boyz were out looking for revenge, and for them, Xhubbz was the perfect target. On June the 9th, 2022, at 4:39 p.m, officers were called to a report of a shooting behind Oak Park in the 400 block of East Fulton Street in North Stockton. At the location, they found two people sitting in a vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds. One male was transported by medics to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but the second person shot was unfortunately pronounced dead on the scene. This turning out to be none other than Xhubbz, real name Jeron Malik Salkido. What made the incident even more tragic was that according to police, there were two small children in the vehicle during the shooting.
Developing story now. One man is dead tonight after a double shooting in Oak Park. Stockton police say the call came in just before 5 p.m. tonight. They found a car with two victims inside. One person was declared dead at the scene. The other victim was taken to the hospital.
Information that I just received was that there were two small children that were inside that vehicle and they were uninjured during this shooting.
And after the 2025 mass shooting that targeted the Fly Boyz and the Muddy Boys, leaving 3 children and 1 adult dead, Xhubbz's friend Pyru Briss would share a story on Instagram about seeing a video of Xhubbz's lifeless body hanging out the window of a car, where he was found with his kids visible in the background. Following his death, Xhubbz's friends from Lewis Park would pay tribute to him on social media, while over the years, multiple members of the Fly Boyz and Muddy Boys would diss him in their music. For example, on the 2025 track Old Nell, MB Nell rapped about retaliation following Cholo's death, saying that after Cholo died, a fat member of the Blood Gang was shot. Fly Boyz rapper Boy Boy Gunner, on the other hand, suggested on his track Choke City, named after Cholo's nickname, that after Cholo's death, the Fly Boyz got the main person responsible, implying that they definitely considered Xhubbz responsible for the murder and had dealt with him accordingly. And to remove any doubt, Boy Boy Gunner later confirmed on his track Dead Ops that Xhubbz's murder was indeed a direct retaliation for Cholo. Bands, who has been in some rumors even connected to Xhubbz's murder, has also added to the dissing by rapping on his 2024 song The Real Boogie Man that Xhubbz was dead because he had said that he was smoking on Cholo, aka Choke. But Band's perhaps most telling moment of dissing, or self-snitching depending on how you look at it, would be in the music video for the song Forever Spazzin', together with Nano MB, where Bands would first rap about his accolades as a killer, asking the listeners and his ops how many more people he has to kill before they get the picture, before listing 2 of his ops who had ended up dead after speaking on his gang, with both of these names being cut out of the audio. However, during the second name, Bands could be seen on the video doing a hand motion on his stomach, making it very clear that he was referring to a person who was overweight. 2 people had already lost their lives in 2022 alone, yet the feud was only just starting, and the next murder would drag EBK straight into the conflict, costing them one of their biggest rappers in a chilling out-of-town assassination plot. In the early morning hours of August the 5th, 2022, officers responded to a report of a possible shooting at an apartment complex located at 176 Trevino Avenue in the city of Manteca to the south of Stockton. At the scene, 29-year-old Deshaun Victor, better known as the EBK rapper Young Slo-Be, was found suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and he would later pass away from his injuries. According to the police, the shooting didn't appear to be random, but similar to other gang-related cases, the authorities were keeping details close to their chests.
In what would be his last post on his verified Instagram profile, rapper Young Slo-Be is seen visiting a Stockton business where his sweatshirts and t-shirts were sold. The shop's owner says outside that shop Friday morning, people were waiting to purchase Young Slo-Be merch.
All today, I just been listening to his music, just like sad, honestly. Super sad.
This young fan, who asked that we not show his face on camera, appreciated the rapper's music about Stockton.
I feel like he has so much potential to him too, because he was an up and coming artist. Like I feel like he could have been something so much bigger.
In San Joaquin County, Melanie Wingo, KCRA 3 News.
At this point, police don't think this was a random crime. The shooter is still on the loose.
Interestingly, one of the first people to circulate specific details about the attack was controversial internet hood vlogger DC Baby Draco, who claimed that on-the-ground sources said that a black Mercedes-Benz was involved.
We need to tell that cop it's a black Benz that took off. It's nothing, he's falling asleep. This is crazy. One of our apartments.
That detail was indeed officially confirmed 2 years later when police finally asked the public for help identifying a suspected black Mercedes found about 20 minutes away in the neighboring city of Tracy. Soon after the murder, EBK members responded with posts memorializing Slo-Be. While the circumstances around the shooting would fuel more speculation that this might have been a setup and that someone had backdoored the rapper, especially given that the hit occurred early in the morning, just 15 minutes outside of Stockton. This meant that somebody almost certainly was aware of Slo-Be's location way ahead of the murder, and those rumors further intensified the following year when the mother of Slo-Be's child admitted to sleeping with none other than EBK Jaaybo.
But you guys are weird as it's been 8 months. Let it go. Let me and what I do go. Just put it as I was just a 304. Like, that's it and that's all. I'm from a trailer park. Damn, you got me. These niggas suck. On God, they suck. Like I said, I'm gonna do what I want, where I want, how I want to. And if you was from Stockton, no. You know.
However, Jaaybo would later brush off any claims that he was disrespecting Slo-Be, giving a rather peculiar explanation, saying that because the lifestyle the mother of Slo-Be's child was living, she was actually fair game.
Kind of like, you know, like, damn, like, where's the loyalty at? Like, all the girls you got, Jaaybo, and you want her, you sleeping with her, all the girls you got. So the fans was kind of like, you know,
if Slo-Be was here, he wouldn't care. Not to disrespect her or nothing either, you feel me, because she cool. But she, you feel me, she live a different type of lifestyle. Like, that's not no regular, like, you feel me? Like, I understand if it was like, okay, you brother baby mama, like, that's really, like, that's really his, like, that's a cool, off limits. I wouldn't even look that way. But you feel me? Not to act like she didn't really with Slo because she be with him. But at the end of the day, that ain't no regular fair game. RP brother, I never disrespect my brother. That's my brother, dead homies.
Jaaybo would also say that Slo-Be's death effectively erased any internal friction within EBK, including the beef between him and Young Jock, with this apparently bringing them together.
I mean, bro, you feel me? I love that, bro. Niggas put our differences and you feel me, on some kids. But niggas finna put our differences to the side. You see jocking, that's cool.
I was just finna ask you that too.
We was planning it, bro. Just didn't know. We been planning it, bro. Just didn't put the plan into effect. So, bro, Slo-Be was a big, you feel me, part of that plan. He gone now, though. But just gonna keep it lit. Nigga gonna push his Slo-Be mode, bro. You feel me? And nigga, oh, tornadoes coming for that, period. There ain't really nothing else to say about it.
Indeed, just 2 days after Slo-Be's death, Jock was caught on camera telling his gang that they needed to go and kill somebody to avenge Slo-Be.
Take some pictures. 2-1. Come on, man. Let's let go there, take a picture. Guys, we taking a picture right here like, you ain't celebrating nothing, bro. We gotta go kill somebody, bro. What are y'all talking about? Come on.
Later on, some interesting rumors would begin to spread online about the murder, including claims that Slo-Be had been killed by a white man that was romantically involved with Slo-Be's baby mother, but others would challenge these claims, instead pointing the finger at the Fly Boyz. And while police revealed little publicly, the music that followed would begin to tell a different story that seemed to confirm these rumors. A few months after Slo-Be's death, Fly Boyz rapper Band-Aid Snowy would rap in his song Peekaboo about killing someone early in the morning and putting them on the news. And by February 2024, Snowy would debut his song Don't Do Me, where he showcased a large 21K tattoo on the side of his face, while the song as a whole is widely interpreted to have actually been a reenacting of Slo-Be's final moments, with Snowy rapping about chasing an op down while repeating the words "Cuddy don't do me," which are rumored to have actually been Slo-Be's last words, as scenes in the music video would even depict a man lying on the ground and begging for mercy. To remove any doubt, the video would even briefly flash the word "too slow" spelled without the W, an obvious reference to Slo-Be's name. On his March 2024 track Die Slow, Fly Boyz rapper Be Nice 3s also referenced Slo-Be alongside dead Lewis Park Blood members Eli and Xhubbz, labeling them all as confirmed bodies of the Fly Boyz, while Bands would rap on his August 2024 track The Real Boogie Man about catching someone walking out the house and how Slo-Be ran and got tired, before also referencing Slo-Be's alleged last words by rapping how a rapper got caught and yelled "Don't do me." Some have even interpreted Bands' face tattoo of a trophy to be similar to his 2900K tattoo, but this time signaling the murder of someone with a high status, such as Slo-Be. Nano MB would also add another layer, rapping about how it isn't safe to not have a gun and chasing someone down on a block and not caring about a kid, which some have connected to unconfirmed rumors that Slo-Be actually got shot whilst out walking with his daughter, something that was mentioned by the YouTuber Sacramento Gang Archives, who would also claim that the shooters allegedly got the drop from Slo-Be's Weed Man.
Slo-Be actually bought weed from a non-affiliate from South Stockton, and this gonna watch this video right now and feel like but he was bumping his damn gums to the wrong people, saying how he sells weed to Slo-Be. Whoever was listening somehow got information out of him and got the drop on Slo-Be from that Weed Man. Now, as far as the Weed Man, that was the only part that he played unintentionally in Slo-Be dying. He did not do that on purpose. He was just being a regular person, being happy that he sells weed to someone who's famous, you know? He found out that Slo-Be was in an apartment complex with no gate, 10 minutes away from Stockton. They caught Slo-Be either going to or from that little ass apartment with his baby mom and with one of his kids.
This murder still remains unsolved to this day, and whether the Fly Boyz were behind it or not, it seems that they definitely wanted EBK to think that they were the ones responsible, but unfortunately, it seems that only 10 days later, that would end up costing them yet another major loss. On August the 15th, 2022, officers responded to another shooting, this time at the notorious Southside Market, the same location where Flyboy Cholo had been murdered earlier that year. At the scene, they found one person killed and another one injured, with the news eventually identifying the dead victim as Scott DeMar, also known as an alleged Fly Boyz member called F.A.D.
The incident happened here behind us inside the parking lot of the Southside Market. Much of the investigation appears to be aimed towards the front of the market, but we're not sure whether or not shots were fired inside or out. But what we can tell you is we do see some bullet holes in the front of the business as well as on some cars. Officers on the scene also tell us that there's a number of family members of the victims that are over on the other side of this area. We went to speak with them. They said they didn't want to answer any questions. Police so far have confirmed that one person was killed, another person was injured and taken to the hospital.
Disturbingly, a portion of the murder was captured on surveillance footage showing F.A.D. standing outside the market looking at his phone before someone runs up and shoots him in the head. This time, law enforcement moved quickly, and within 3 months they had an EBK affiliate and rapper Lil Sleaze, real name Cameron McCullough, in custody, charged with felony murder in connection to the killing. This wouldn't stop EBK members dissing F.A.D. though, with EBK Jaaybo himself rapping in the song Aftermath how he had died the worst way by taking rounds from another fully automatic weapon to the face. However, when Sleaze was arrested for the murder, the streets had already dealt their own revenge, because at the end of August 2022, EBK would end up losing someone very close to them in another murder that would become connected to the Fly Boyz. In the weeks following the murder of Fly Boyz F.A.D., the war between them and EBK would continue to escalate. On August the 26th, officers responded to a shooting in the 900 block of Glendale Avenue in South Stockton, where a 28-year-old Edward Williford was found fatally wounded. In the aftermath, local ABC 10 News would interview Edward's relatives, who described him as a joyful, kind-hearted person who was loved by those around him.
He was going on social media, Facebook, looking around to see if anybody, and a lot of other people was posting it too, saying rest in peace, Edward.
Rest in peace, Edward, on a social media post.
And yeah, that's how we found out.
These are the cousins of Stockton's 36th homicide victim in 2022, Edward Williford.
He was always like crazy and funny and caring and everything. Yeah, he was just a good person to be around all the time. He was good vibes. Everybody loved Edward.
However, later on Reddit, internet sleuths would point out how Edward was from the area that locals call Crow Valley, the same area where Jaaybo spent most of his childhood growing up, often referencing the neighborhood in his music, like shouting out the block number 3400, as well as streets in the area like Phelps Street and Ann Street, these pointing to specific blocks located directly to the west of Reverend Holmes Park, the very same spot where Jaaybo's father, Rrari, had shot his most popular music video in 2012, dedicated to his dead friend from Crow Valley. Later on, EBK would begin to pay tribute to Edward publicly, like his face appearing on EBK Mad Max's 2025 album artwork alongside EBK Osama and young Slo-Be. Meanwhile, Fly Boyz artists would disrespect him in their music, music, portraying it as another retaliatory murder in their war against the EBK and their Lewis Park allies. Boy Boy Gunna would rap in his 2025 song Demonic Thoughts how Edward had spoken on F.A.D and caught an early grave, while on another 2025 track titled Blinded, he would rap about Edward screaming before he died, as well as mentioning how he had tried to run before getting shot with a fully automatic gun like an assault rifle. In yet another 2025 song titled Dead Ops, Boy Boy Gunna even referenced the potential suspect, specifically mentioning that the shooter might have been Asian. But while Fly Boyz artists were openly celebrating Edward's death, the violence on the ground was far from finished, and by next year, it was allegedly EBK's time to claim another life, this time striking big and catching one of the Fly Boyz' most high-profile members. Long before his name begun ringing through Stockton's music scene, Fly Boyz rapper J Blacc was already deeply rooted in the gang's history. As far back as 2012, photos showed him standing alongside Fly Boyz and other Threes members, signaling that his involvement in the group had stretched back far more than a decade. Around that same time, a wave of Free Blacc social media posts begun appearing, hinting at the rapper's early run-ins with the justice system. Fast forward to 2023, and J Blacc was no longer just a background figure, as he had become one of the most recognizable faces and voices associated with the Fly Boyz, gaining visibility not only in the streets, but through music that openly reflected his affiliations. However, that visibility came with a cost, and by March of that year, the same ties that elevated his status would ultimately put a target on his back. On March the 4th, at approximately 6:03 p.m, Stockton police responded to reports of gunfire near the Southside Market in the 2100 block of South Airport Way. When officers arrived, they found 29-year-old J Blacc, real name Jacob Haywood Thomas, along with an innocent bystander, both suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. And despite being rushed to the hospital, neither victim would end up surviving. At that point, the double homicide marked the 5th killing in the area within a single month, pushing fear and frustration to a boiling point across nearby neighborhoods. As a result, Stockton police began shifting tactics and started to reach out to Stockton neighborhoods where the murders occurred. In the weeks that followed, officers began holding community meetings in the affected areas, urging residents to come forward with information and emphasizing how recent tips had already led to arrests in other homicide cases. Within just 2 months, police would identify 2 suspects in the Southside Market shooting and arrested 18-year-old Uza Satua, also known as EBK Lil A, along with a 16-year-old juvenile accused of carrying out the attack. Yet the investigation didn't stop there, because nearly a year later, a third suspect, 27-year-old Derek Gordon, also known as EBK Dada, was taken into custody in Las Vegas in connection to the murder.
Stockton police have arrested a third suspect in connection with a deadly shooting 1 year ago. Derek Gordon was taken into custody in Las Vegas in connection with the deaths of Andrea Jones and Jacob Haywood Thomas.
The arrest made it clear who was allegedly involved in the shooting, but according to Jaaybo's 2025 track Fully Buyer, he was there too to witness the shooting with his own eyes. These lyrics may have not been too difficult to believe, because just 1 month after J Blacc's death, Jaaybo himself was back behind bars for allegedly sliding on his ops. By February 2023, Jaaybo had just regained his freedom after serving roughly a year and a half behind bars. However, that freedom would be short-lived. Just 2 months later, on April the 17th, at around 1:30 p.m, San Joaquin County deputies conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle in North Stockton, and inside, the officers found 4 suspects, including Jaaybo, along with 2 unserialized short-barreled rifles with high-capacity magazines, 1 unregistered pistol, and more than $4,500 in cash. Notably, the stop occurred just outside of the townhome's Northside Gangster Crips territory, which would later raise questions if the police had intervened right before the EBK members were about to slide on their northern rivals. As a result of this incident, after only 2 months of freedom following his previous conviction, Jaaybo was sent right back behind bars for roughly 5 months. But unfortunately, Jaaybo's absence would do little to curb the war going on in the streets of Stockton. In the summer of 2023, Lewis Park would end up losing yet another one of their most beloved members. On the 23rd of July, 27-year-old Adam Nem, known in the streets as Lil A, was out partying in the city of Lodi, about a 20-minute ride north from Stockton. As he was seemingly with another man in the El Dorado nightclub, someone would open fire at them, injuring the other man and killing Lil A.
Zamora tells ABC 10 she feels safe in this neighborhood, but what happened early Sunday morning just steps from her restaurant has her in disbelief.
She was surprised that happened because stuff like that usually doesn't happen around here.
Lodi police say just after 1:15 this morning, 2 men in their 20s were found shot at the El Dorado nightclub. 1 man passed away while the other is still in the hospital recovering. And as Zamora's husband was working to open up the restaurant around 8 this morning, she says someone from the club asked her husband for a favor.
And asked him if they could borrow a hose so they can wash the inside because there was blood spilled all over.
For Lewis Park, Lil A's death was a huge loss, which became obvious from the amount of tributes that the members would continue to pay him. Notably, this included their hood vlog with Tommy G, where they can be seen in front of Lil A's memorial, while the rapper Javon describes him as the most dangerous dude ever, making it clear that Lil A had likely put in maximum work in the streets before his death.
This the homie, man. What's up, man? This is my big homie, actually, man, for sure. VIP, blood in peace.
I guess you have a favorite memory of him, or is there something like, what do you think, like when he comes to mind, like what comes to your head?
Most dangerous ever.
Yeah?
He pulling up, he tripping.
He looked like he was about
He don't want to be in this camera right now. If he was here, he wouldn't want to be in this camera. So he be in it though, gang. Be in the camera, but me in the vlog, gang. But if he was in there, he wouldn't want to be in there. You know why? He a dangerous.
Yeah?
Hell yeah, on the beat.
He's got that look in his eye, you can just tell when you see him, you know?
Everybody see that look in his eye, they don't like it.
Interestingly though, the Fly Boyz would this time be relatively quiet, with only a few mentions of his death actually being found in their music, like Boy Boy Gunna in his 2025 song Blinded, where he simply states that Lil A died in the strangest way and that he should have had his gun on him. The lack of dissing perhaps implying that the Fly Boyz might not have been behind this murder. However, in 2024, the war would go into overdrive, as 5 people would end up losing their lives back to back in brutal killings, many of which seemingly tied directly back to the war between EBK and Lewis Park versus the Fly Boyz and the Muddy Boys. At the beginning of the year, EBK were allegedly spinning against their old enemies in the north, as the townhome's perhaps most known rapper 500 Want would get shot 6 times while he was hanging in their home territory in the north at the West Lane Plaza shopping centre. He would fortunately survive the attempt on his life and would later explain the incident during his hood vlog with the Star Quality Entertainment YouTube channel.
We out here in North Cal, North Side Stockton, you know what I'm saying? North Side on West Lane, you know what I'm saying? Where I got popped at, I got popped right here in the middle of the street.
Where'd they get you at, yo?
Huh?
Where'd they pop you at, your leg, yo? Stomach?
All back shots, you know what I mean? Shoot, you know what I'm saying? Type, you know what I mean?
And you still here?
Still here.
How did
this happened last year, January 5th? Like 20, 30 deep out here, you feel me? But I'm the only me and a couple other homies, we was standing like in the middle of the street right there. A couple of the homies was in Crazy Burgers. I thought I heard a little fireworks going on. I just looked at that, walking down like between the cars like this, how you is, walking down like that. And then I just seen like, you feel me?
It doesn't seem that anyone was arrested for the shooting, but in March 2025, as EBK Jaaybo released his most scathing diss track to date, F Everybody, he would leave very little to the imagination, as he rapped how he'd got out of a car and shot someone exactly 6 times. Interestingly, even Wante would admit how he had respect for one of the shooters, while claiming that the others had popped out like girls.
Because the way they jumped out like girls, you feel me? So that jumped out on that though, you feel me? And I respect him, but the rest they boo-boo.
EBK would allegedly continue to slide a few months later, but this time the target was the Fly Boyz, and specifically one of their most infamous shooters, Bands, who would appear in an April 2024 vlog with the Oregon and Park ENT YouTube channel with his right hand wrapped up. Boy Boy Gunna would confirm that Bands had gotten shot in his July 2025 song Demonic Thoughts, rapping how the people who had shot Bands were not alive anymore to rap about it. These were some truly ominous lyrics, because only a few weeks after Bands had appeared in the vlog with his injured hand, 2 EBK members would end up being killed back to back in about 24 hours. In the early morning hours of April the 28th, police would respond to reports of shots fired in the 6200 block of North Pershing Avenue in North Stockton. At the location, they would find 22-year-old Lawrence Neville, better known as EBK Lil Mando, suffering from a gunshot wound, and he would end up passing away at the scene. As the EBK members found out about the death of their friend, they would post tributes to Mando on social media while vowing for revenge, with even Jaaybo himself posting how it was going to be an eye for an eye. But there would be no time for any revenge, because already the following morning, at around 2:45 AM, the police in Sacramento, about an hour drive north from Stockton, would respond to reports about shots fired in the Greenhaven neighborhood. Here, they would find Malik Lott, better known as Jaaybo's brother EBK Osama, who had also been shot, and Osama too would later pass away at the hospital. The police would later find out that the shooting had taken place at the Colony House Apartments, a few blocks away from where Osama was found. This was the biggest and most devastating loss for EBK since the death of Slo-Be, and following Osama's death, members of the Fly Boyz would take every opportunity to diss Osama and Mando. On Bands' August 2024 track, The Real Boogie Man, he would label Osama as a rat and taunted EBK for losing 2 members in a day. Flyboy Dougie would suggest in his 2025 track, Scene Step with Band-Aid Snowy, that Osama died because he was thinking with his pipe rather than his head, seemingly implying that it might have been a girl who set him up and backdoored him. Meanwhile, Boy Boy Gunna would provide some interestingly specific details about the murder by rapping how Osama had tried to leave a driveway when he got shot. To understand how bad the violence had gotten in Stockton, it helps to compare it to other nearby cities. Just 20 miles southwest from Stockton, the city of Tracy presents a sharp contrast, and is widely considered to be a relatively safe place to live, with the city's overall crime rate sitting well below both state and national averages. Yet by May 2024, the violence ripping through Stockton no longer respected city boundaries, as Tracy police responded to reports of multiple shots fired in the parking lot of a gas station in the city's north side. When officers arrived, they located 2 shooting victims, while bystander footage captured the aftermath with evidence markers scattered across the scene. The victims were later identified as Alexander Gabriel, also known as Spaz or Aspazz, an alleged member of the Muddy Boys who was pronounced dead at the scene. His friend Pudi would be taken to hospital in a critical but stable condition. Speculation began circulating online, even under news reports across YouTube, with one commenter noting that one of the victims' names was Alex and he was affiliated with the Fly Boyz and Muddy Boys, even speculating that the shooters had followed him from his job at an Amazon warehouse, while another commenter even claimed to be his co-worker at the warehouse. Notably, just weeks before the shooting, Spaz had appeared in a hood vlog alongside the rising Fly Boyz rapper Bands, where he could be seen wearing a ski mask and utility work gloves, often used by shooters to avoid leaving fingerprints or getting gunshot residue on their hands.
About 7 o'clock, I look at that bitch. It's ain't December yet. Showed it.
Man, you know what it is, man. A whole lot of gangbangers.
Only 97.
Yeah, hubby, man. I'm coming through this motherfucker. Trying to get it jumping.
In that same vlog, the group openly discussed growing up and using bikes and scooters to slide on their enemies before graduating to sliding with strikers or stolen cars.
9-degree weather. Fuck all them dead.
This is entertainment though. Don't ever forget it's just entertainment. This is what people like to see. This is what they like to see.
Hey, no face, no case, cause all headshots, no leg shots.
So what's the difference between how y'all used to move when y'all was younger and now?
We not on bikes and scooters. That's what it is. We not on bikes and scooters. We through there. We got motion.
Militant.
We in between that like some pennies and bitch. That's all it is. Check the scoreboard.
The fallout from the Tracy shooting hit close to home, as Spaz was a brother of the rapper Nano MB and a cousin of the rapper Bands, and Spaz's funeral drew a large turnout of Fly Boyz members.
It ain't nothing. Come on.
Yet even in mourning, the hostility never slowed, and EBK Jaaybo later took to Instagram to mock the funeral by playing Logic's awareness song captioned with the lyrics, "I don't want to be a," while EBK Young Jock could be seen trolling the Fly Boyz by liking their posts from the funeral. Meanwhile, it would take nearly 4 months for police to release any information about the shooters, with online sleuths quickly drawing their own conclusions about these images based on body size and outfits of one of the shooters, coming to the conclusion that the person bore resemblance to the EBK member Pig, with some Redditors pointing out how in such a small city, doing drills in your music video outfits was probably not the best idea. EBK Pig was also known to be very close with members of the Lewis Park Bloods, but it was not very difficult then to imagine that one of the shooters, dressed in a fully red Nike Tech tracksuit, could be associated with the Lewis Park Bloods, and that this was a joint hit between these two camps. However, less than a week later, there would be another shooting that would seemingly bring at least some confirmation about those responsible. On the 29th of May 2024, the violence continued when police responded to another homicide near the intersection of Tilden Park Street and Houston Avenue in southwest Stockton, on the outer edge of territory controlled by the Fly Boyz affiliated Westside Conway Crips. When the officers arrived, they found a man inside of a vehicle in front of a residence suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and he would be pronounced dead at the scene. This man would turn out to be 26-year-old Tommy Lee. Even more disturbing, 2 children, ages 5 and 6, were found unharmed but terrified in the backseat of the car.
Stockton police are working to piece together what led up to a deadly shooting outside of a home.
A 26-year-old man was killed as 2 young children, just 5 and 6 years old, were inside the car.
When officers arrived on scene, they located a 26-year-old male victim inside of a vehicle in the front area of the residence who had been struck multiple times by gunfire.
That man pronounced dead on the scene. 2 young children were also in the car, one taken to the hospital for minor injuries.
As with the earlier shootings, investigators initially released very little information. In fact, it took more than 3 months before the police shared additional details, including a grainy image of the suspect's vehicle. By then, authorities had confirmed that 3 shooters exited the vehicle before opening fire.
Police say a 26-year-old man was shot and killed killed in his car. 2 young children were in the back seat. Police say 3 suspects jumped out of the car before opening fire. So here's the car, then it drives off. Anyone with information is urged to contact police.
But meanwhile, online rumors conflicted over the victim's identity and affiliations, with some claiming he was from out of town. However, Tommy's connection to the Lewis Park Bloods, specifically Bounce Back Meek, had already appeared publicly as far back as 2020, when Tommy could be seen in Meek's music video for the song Pinocchio. There were even rumors suggesting a family connection between Bounce Back Meek and Tommy, though these claims were never officially confirmed. Still, the shooting wasn't widely tied to retaliation at first, but that changed once the music started dropping. On the 2025 song Old Nell, MB Nell took a subtle shot, rejecting the clothing brand Tommy Hilfiger over Ralph Lauren, with Fly Boyz members seemingly later using this line as a caption while posting a picture of Tommy. Some of the clearest references came from the rapper Bands, who would rap in his October 2024 song Show N-Words how his cousin Spaz had died and somebody died right after him, before adding that they got the person. These hints would even continue on the 2025 track 3 Ever Spazzin' by Bands and Nano MB, a song made in honor of Spaz, where Bands first raps in the chorus about catching a blood out of bounds for dissing the Threes, which could have been seen as referring to Tommy, who was killed far from the Lewis Park territory close to the Fly Boyz hood. But Bands wasn't done, because he would then rap about having another hat or body under his belt, this being yet another cold case, before specifically mentioning how his victim died with his kids, these lyrics seemingly referencing exactly what had happened to Tommy. Although this wasn't unfortunately the first time when the Fly Boyz might have killed someone in front of children, because as mentioned, the exact same thing had also happened to Xhubbz a few years earlier. However, the Fly Boyz would keep putting out music with very peculiar details. For example, on the 2025 track Driveway, Nano MB would rap about someone trolling Spaz and getting killed in a driveway less than 5 days later, these lyrics clearly pointing towards Tommy. Interestingly, EBK rappers would add their own hints through music as well, with Jaaybo himself rapping in his 2025 track The Biggest G how Fly Boyz had done no spinning since Spaz died, perhaps implying that it was in fact EBK behind Spaz's murder, while in another 2025 song titled It'll Happen to You, Jaaybo would seemingly imply that Spaz wasn't even their target, but he was killed anyways because he hung with the people they were targeting. In the end though, both Spaz and Tommy's murders remain unsolved, and only time will tell if anyone will ever go down for them. But what we do know is that in only a few months' time, these tit-for-tat killings would continue, and in the next instance, it would unfortunately be time for another Fly Boyz member to lose their life. By May 2024, a new name from the Fly Boyz had started gaining real traction on the music side of things, this being of course Bands, who would drop his first hit song, The Flyest Crip, on May the 3rd, immediately gaining hundreds of thousands of views. In a July 2024 hood vlog, this alleged shooter turned rapper would speak openly about the current strained relationship with EBK and his own plans to make it in music.
Isn't that like, you know, it's been that wanted to come over here and f with us because they seen that we had the movement, and then they branched off and they was doing their own thing after that. And might have did numbers, might have did this, but we did this first.
Oh, shit, man.
2, 3 on Choke, on David Carlos, we did this first. And name any other that did this first out here besides the mob. You can't. Now on Choke, you can't. I wish Cholo was here. Hey, rip Choke, man. I wish my big brother was here to see this, bro. He would have feel like we already made it, even though we ain't make it yet. But we finna make it though, you know. And as soon as I make it, I'm taking all my out of here. You think we finna be at Peterson Park chilling? You think we finna be out here chilling for what?
With each drop, Bands' name was growing, with most of his music videos breaking 1 million views with ease. But just as the camp was celebrating that momentum, everything would shift once again. On July the 5th, 2024, Stockton police responded to a shooting in the 3800 block of Fairburn Way, this being the same Sherwood's Manor neighborhood where the tragic mass shooting would take place in the following year. According to investigators, 31-year-old Carlos Hanabel, better known as the Fly Boyz rapper Trapmob Los, was sitting inside his parked car when a grey Toyota Camry pulled up beside him. Without warning, the suspect opened fire multiple times before fleeing the scene. While Los was soon after rushed to hospital, he would later die from his injuries. The online reaction was immediate, and in response to the news, members of EBK would openly celebrate the killing, treating it as another score in the ongoing war. Notably, EBK Jaaybo joined in, posting from prison with the caption, "No response needed from EBK, check the scoreboard," before sprinkling in some trolling by adding how Los's music slaps though. From there, that tone carried straight into the music. In his 2025 track Tribe K, Jaaybo rapped about Los being caught lacking hiding and claimed EBK was now up 4 bodies on the Fly Boyz. At the same time, EBK Lebo and EBK Pig doubled down on their 2025 track Ain't Adding Up, mocking the deaths of Spazz, Los, and Blacc, while also pointing out that EBK hadn't been touched in return. Meanwhile, in his August 2025 track Saturated, MB Nell rapped that retaliation for Blacc was still in motion, but delayed only because the people responsible were rarely in town. These lyrics clearly implying that the Fly Boyz and Muddy Boys were looking to catch an EBK member as get back. As the months passed with no arrests, the Trapmob Los case grew colder, but interestingly, at a certain point the FBI would step in, releasing a sketch of the suspect describing him as roughly 5'6", between 120 and 140 pounds, as well as providing images of 2 suspects' vehicles. It doesn't seem that this would lead to any arrests though, but the FBI's interest in the murder would soon become crystal clear, because only a few days later, law enforcement would come out with Operation Boogie Man. This was a multi-agency operation which led to more than 70 arrests, and was named after EBK Jaaybo's biggest song, the April 2024 hit Boogie Man. The operation targeted some of the most active and violent gangs in Stockton, and included the arrests of many of the members mentioned in this video, including Nano MB, aka Luciano Guerrero, Bands, aka Raynico Flores, Flyboy Dougie, aka Billy Williams, and several others. It seems that the operation did also help to calm down the war between the Fly Boyz camp and the EBK and Lewis Park alliance, at least temporarily, as the following 12 months would seemingly go by without either side losing any members to that war. For one particular participant in that war though, things would go from bad to worse, and only about a year into his rap career, Band's world would become crashing down when he was charged in January 2025 in connection with the 2019 murder of Lewis Park blood affiliate Eli. Almost immediately, his ops celebrated the news as if he had died, a reaction that potentially spoke of how much of a threat that he was believed to be in the streets. That sentiment was echoed online too, where commenters suggested that the celebration meant that it was finally safe to go outside. Meanwhile, just a month later in February, EBK Jaaybo was released from prison after serving time on gun charges, and almost immediately controversy followed, and only a month later, a video surfaced online allegedly showing Jaaybo armed with a switch, a modification allowing a pistol to fire as an automatic machine gun.
Yeah, I really put on. I see where you at. Come pull up then. Come pull up then. What you talking about? Come pull up, J. Hey, who got the Maybach key? But look.
Just one day later, he was swiftly arrested again, this time on drug and ammunition charges. By March the 20th, Jaaybo was out on bond, and on that very same day, he dropped one of the most aggressive tracks of the year, the infamous diss song F Everybody. In the song, Jaaybo openly dissed nearly all of his ops, including Fly Boy members Blacc, F.A.D, Los, Spazz, Shotta, and others, while also calling out his rivals from the north side. The lyrics included detailed claims of shootings, bounties put on people's heads, bodies left across Stockton, and other statements that closely mirrored real-world events. He even referenced popping someone from the north side, rapping that the person he shot said that he was on 8 and not 10. These being the exact same words that the north side rapper 500 Wante used in an interview to describe the incident of him being shot.
The crazy thing, I ain't gonna lie, is being popped though, I ain't gonna lie. Got up on me, you know what I'm saying? Let that foul happen, but I hit 6 times, ain't nothing. Keep your head on the swivel. Keep your pay attention. You know what I'm saying?
You think he was slipping?
I wasn't slipping, it was just this. I wasn't on 10, I was on 8.
The song also contained lines about betrayal, admitting to backdooring someone right after shaking their hand, and referenced how Fly Boyz members were stressed following Los's death. Next, he rapped about being desperate for another body. Taken together, the track came off as both disrespectful and reckless, especially given how recently Jaaybo had just been released from custody. Soon after, Jaaybo appeared publicly wearing 2 ankle monitors, and he explained to prolific streamer Plackboy Max that the double monitors were actually a condition of his release.
You right here? Yeah, just put your foot up or something. All right. So that's the first joint. That's the second joint. Holy shit. Okay, so look, right? Why 2? Like, what's the benefit of having 2? Like, they really try.
No.
They try to track both your ankles.
If I was a boosie, I'd come on here and try to act just like I got 2 because I'm just hella donkey, bro. This one is pre-trial. So you feel me? This is just for when you catch a new case. Okay. Probation and parole. Okay. It ain't too much, bro. It ain't cause I'm Jaaybo. No. I'm on probation and I'm on parole. Being a gangster.
So probation, parole.
That's all it is.
Okay, that makes
Both
sense.
of them feel like I should have an ankle monitor on 2 different agencies.
Okay, so that's why they're separate. Okay, that makes sense.
Because I went to prison and I got juvenile still, so I'm still on probation. So probation feel like I should have an ankle monitor, and parole feel like I should have an ankle monitor. And probation don't really care.
And then how long you got them on for?
They said parole said till 2027. But that's just what they say though, on blood.
Bro.
Nah, he ain't gonna have it on for that long though, but that's what.
That's not annoying to wear?
Hell yeah, bro. Imagine having to sleep with that.
Yeah, I'm already already know.
But imagine, bro, that, no, imagine having to sleep this connected to the wall, blood, and the plug way over there.
Yeah.
Like, bro, jeez, blood.
Because them bitches got to charge it.
That shit real, bro.
Damn, bro. You got to shower with that and everything?
Shower when you
Jaaybo was even spotted out in public charging his monitors.
EBK Jaaybo right here.
Yeah, man.
Here at the Maximum, you know.
Yeah, he let me charge the ankle monitor up, man. Appreciate, bro. I'm right here, man.
Chillin'.
We here chilling, man.
Chillin'.
Shout out Sinclair Market, man. We out here.
That's right.
Yo, EBK.
That's right.
However, that supervision didn't last long because just 2 months later, shortly after the life-changing announcement that Jaaybo would be part of NBA YoungBoy's Massa Tour as an opening act, those plans would be curtailed as Jaaybo was arrested again, this time all the way in Arkansas on drug and gun charges. Something that seemed particularly ironic given that Jaaybo actually had a song titled Out on Bail where he literally rapped about going to Arizona to buy guns from his plug. Initial reports alleged that Jaaybo and other EBK members had cut off their ankle monitors and left the state.
It was a bad excuse, by the way.
I don't believe this narrative. EBK Jaaybo was arrested after going on the run to make the XXL freshman shoot?
No. No.
Wait, he said that? I was on the way to y'all for the freshman XXL shoot. What? That doesn't. They're probably not shooting that for like a long time, right?
Yeah, no. That's not why he went on the run.
Yeah.
All he had to do was ask for permission from his PO. His PO was already giving him leeway.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had a lot of leeway from his PO. I don't know what made him cut off the ankle monitors, but I think it was just a lot of people that was around him.
Wow.
Despite the mounting legal pressure, Jaaybo was still named on the XXL freshman list.
Education plain fingers never recommended. He's still on business because his sentence got left in prison. That's because I've been in that position.
Soon after this, reports would surface that he was facing up to 30 years if convicted, and by September 2025, court documents indicated that Jaaybo's trial had officially begun, but there have since been no public updates on the outcome of his case. But while the courts moved slowly, the streets did not, because the years-long war with the Fly Boyz and Muddy Boys on one side, and EBK alongside the Westside Lewis Park Bloods on the other, was nearing its most devastating moment yet, one that would culminate in one of the most horrific mass shootings that Stockton had ever seen. Ominously, it was none other than EBK Jaaybo who would seemingly give a premonition about what was about to transpire, specifically mentioning in his February 2025 song The Biggest G how Bands' dissing had got his homies smoked, and how that dissing was going to get everyone hit, before adding how Nano MB specifically should be worried.
Just a few hours ago, a mass shooting at a child's birthday party left 4 people dead and 10 additional people injured.
You just see bullet holes and everything, man. And then the evidence markers, they still here. It's just all here out in the open. I never seen anything like it. There's just holes and everything just torn through. Just everywhere, all the way up the whole thing. On the door. Bro. So sad.
On November the 29th, 2025, around 100 people gathered at a venue called Monkey Space in the 1900 block of Lucille Avenue in North Stockton to celebrate the birthday of a toddler who, according to some online rumors, was the daughter of Nano MB. The event was organized by the daughter's mother, and in attendance were allegedly numerous known members of the Muddy Boys and Fly Boyz, including Nano MB himself, as well as the rappers MB Nell and Flyboy Dougie, aka Dougie Threes. Just before the birthday cake was to be cut shortly before 6 p.m, several gunmen dressed in all black and covering their faces with masks would enter the venue, opening fire at the guests and sending the party into complete chaos. The sounds of the shooting were recorded on a nearby security camera, the audio capturing what sounded like semi-automatic weapons going off, a few shots followed by a short break before a sustained firing that sounded like dozens of shots going off in just a few seconds. Afterwards, as reporters would interview neighbors who heard the shooting, one man would recall how there had been 3 separate bursts of gunfire.
There was 3 sets of gunfire. The first set, there was a lot of rounds, I'm not sure exactly how many, and then they sounded kind of fireworky. And so I wasn't really too concerned about it, but then the next 2 sets came. Gunfire came probably maybe a minute later.
After the smoke cleared, as the police and rescue personnel flooded the scene, they would find that 17 people were shot, including kids and adults, and most tragically, 4 of them would end up succumbing to their injuries, including 3 children aged 8, 9, and 14, along with a 21-year-old man. The media would arrive soon after, finding a chaotic scene with numerous police cars stretched along the area near the location of the shooting, while numerous high-ranking city officials would gather to address the press.
They're advising 12 people have been shot.
We're doing CPR on one possible 12-year-old.
We have a 9-year-old that was shot.
We're following breaking news out of Stockton, where just a few hours ago, a mass shooting at a child's birthday party left 4 people dead and 10 additional people injured with gunshot wounds.
Fluid scene in the minutes after the tragedy unfolded. It was here at this parking lot, this strip mall, where we're told some of the crowds first ran to try to get cover. There was so much adrenaline in the air, but the heartbreak was palpable in those first few minutes. We were on scene less than an hour after the tragedy unfolded, which means we saw those groups of first responders, dozens of police cars, fire engines and ambulances, and most heartbreakingly, families and mothers sobbing, asking where their kids are.
Investigators say they believe this was a targeted incident and the suspect remains at large.
Our #1 priority is ensuring that we find that suspect and hold them accountable.
This is a very active and ongoing investigation. Information remains very limited.
Multiple agencies and city leaders are vowing to seek justice for the victims who were shot at a family gathering. District Attorney Ron Frieda is calling the tragedy unthinkable and pleading with his community and asking the person responsible to turn themselves in.
When this individual is caught, you have my promise that you will have the full force of my office's resources in holding this individual fully accountable.
A few days later, the local media would interview several people who were present at the party when the shooting began, including the father of the 14-year-old victim, Amari Peterson, who would recount the gut-wrenching last moments between him and his son, who was one of the 4 victims who passed away.
Patrick's daughter was grazed, and in the panic before he could even react,
everybody running off, and then my son is just sitting there just crawling, trying to get up. So I got my baby. I had to hop back over the counter, and I'm trying to see what's going on with him. I'm trying to give him CPR and the bullet, and he just got blood coming out his face. And it's just something that a father should never have to go through.
What no one should ever endure is now on a painful replay.
Every time I get ready to lay down, I'm like laying over my son while he's sitting there breathing. Trying to breathe. Every day he would tell me, "Dad, I love you. Dad, I appreciate you." Every night, every morning. Every night, every morning, that boy would tell me he loved me.
According to the father, the gunman he saw was seemingly targeting the rapper MB Nell, who would reportedly get hit during the altercation but would end up surviving.
Peterson tells me his son had left his side momentarily to go meet a rapper who was at the gathering. Then suddenly, shots rang out.
It was like pop, 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 pop. And then I'm standing there for a second, then I started looking around to see if anybody else heard it.
Peterson says he saw a lone gunman with a face mask on, firing multiple shots in the direction where his son was gathered with other people. Peterson says it appeared that the shooter was aiming at the rapper.
He started letting off shots, and then the group started scrambling. People were scrambling and falling, getting out the way.
The New York Post would talk with Nell's father, who confirmed that Nell had been shot, but that he was okay and that he had told him not to say anything to anybody. The father would also mention an incident from 2 years ago where Nell's ops had apparently shot 22 bullets into their house, hitting his daughter-in-law. The media would also talk to the mother of the rapper Nano MB's daughter, whose birthday the people had apparently gathered to celebrate.
For the first time, we're hearing from people who were inside the venue and witnessed the horrible shooting, including a father who lost his son.
We also spoke to the mother hosting the birthday party for a 2-year-old. She talks about the scary moments when someone came in and shot several people, including children.
What was supposed to be a joyful celebration for a 2-year-old's birthday party Saturday afternoon quickly turned to terror when someone came into this building in Stockton and fired several shots.
All I heard was gunshots. I didn't see anything. I just fell to the ground with my baby. I tried to hide behind the jumper. That's all I remember.
Patrice Williams was hosting her daughter's birthday, surrounded by mostly family and some friends. She says the shooting happened as they were preparing to cut the cake and end the party. Her grandmother, Teresa Spivey, says she threw the cake table down as soon as she heard the shots and used it as a shield.
All I seen was kids dropping. Somebody fell on the side of me and they was hit. I looked up and I see my granddaughter. I ran and got her, and I just started throwing kids in the back room, putting them up under the table. And I just seen other kids just dropping to the ground, bleeding.
And when asked about a possible motive for the shooting, family couldn't understand what would make someone do something so horrible, urging anyone with information to come forward.
We asked the family if they knew of any possible motive, but they tell us they know of none, and it was hard to see who entered the building that night. And it's hard to understand why anyone would want to shoot up a child's birthday party.
I believe they just deserve to rot in jail.
The family now calling for justice.
I want the city to know on today, if you have any idea who pulled up and robbed us, stole from us, and took from us lives, tell it. You're not a snitch, because the person that did it, not a gangster. You lost it if you thought you was.
But following that news appearance, she also took to Instagram Live to express her grief and guilt about the situation.
Just so sorry to all the family. Like, nobody will ever understand how I feel, bro. I feel so f***ed up. I wish they could have just took me. Like, I feel like they could have just took me hard. Like, why do they have to take everybody? Why do they have to take everybody? Why do they have to shoot everybody? Why do they have to shoot my sister, my cousins, these babies, bro? Do you know how much I have? I feel like I owe so much, like, explanation. I owe so much to these people. Like, I just don't know what to do, bro. My babies, bro. Like, my babies is so terrifying. This is crazy, and I would never want no type of pity party for nothing. I just want everybody to love and just love these parents that have been going through everything. Like, I know it was my party, but I really want everybody just to give the parents and the kids love and support, whatever they can do for them. Please, y'all, just help these parents, y'all. I know I'm only one person, I can't do much.
She also specifically denied any accusations that she was the one who revealed the location of the party, as rumors began to swirl online that she had posted the location to her social media, with many accusing her of acting recklessly given that she knew that high-level gang members would actually be in attendance.
Everybody on here with negativity talking about I gave the address. I never gave the address to my baby party. Can you guys... Who I gave the address to is the people that was supposed to be there. Like, come on now, things happen. Just like these people run the streets and be gang members or wherever they want to be, things happen.
After her media appearances, many would pay close attention, particularly to the huge choke bitty tattoo on her neck, with people completely unaware of Stockton's complex gang politics going on TikTok deep dives to try and find out what it meant, with it eventually being revealed that this was in fact a tattoo paying tribute to one of the dead Fly Boyz members, Choke, aka Cholo, killed in 2022, with some people online claiming that the woman was not only the mother of Nano MB's daughter, but that she also had at least one child together with Cholo before his passing, while the spelling of city with a B as bitty and the tattoo's red color allegedly actually symbolizing her own alleged affiliations to the Blood Gang. Notably, 2 people present at the party were arrested in the aftermath for violating their probations, these being none other than Nano MB himself, real name Luciano Guerrero, who apparently had violated his probation by being in contact with gang members who had attended the gathering, as well as Fly Boyz rapper Dougie Threes, real name Billy Williams, who apparently wasn't allowed to be near gang members or children due to his dark criminal background. Before his arrest, Dougie had gone live on Instagram as well, seemingly to show the ops and fans that he was untouched.
Shot weird. Not hit, not shot, no none of that.
But after his arrest, Dougie would be interviewed by the local KCRA3 News from inside the jail, where he would give his version of the events that transpired.
25-year-old Billy Williams sits in the San Joaquin County Jail.
They want to talk about my name. They want to talk about what happened. Tell them to talk about who carried the kids, not why they came. Because we don't know why they came, because I wouldn't do that to somebody.
Speaking out about what happened the night of the shooting and his arrest 2 days later.
My parole violation right now is based off me being around where a crime was committed.
He tells me he doesn't know why someone would shoot up a children's birthday party. Do you think you know who did this?
No. Hell no.
Dougie would also make a bold claim that the first responders were more focused on pointing guns at people than trying to help the injured children.
I just started to run after all the kids that I seen the wall. And I started to carry them, and I noticed that when the police came that they didn't run to the kids, they were like still pointing the guns.
He says his back was turned, so he didn't know who was shooting at them.
I couldn't believe it because I turned around and I seen the little girl fall. When I seen the little girl fall, I was like, this is like a movie.
Williams tells me when police arrived, he says they took a long time to get into the building.
I was like, the kids is dying, and they wouldn't listen.
But the sheriff responsible for the scene would then come out, publicly calling Dougie a liar, as well as claiming that nobody who was present at that party was cooperating with investigators at all.
My officer, who was first on scene, arrived across the street because that's the location where they said it was, and then he heard the yelling. He ran into the building before it was cleared of any other suspects, saw what was going on, ran back to his car, got his medical bag, ran back into the building, and immediately started assisting children. We have video footage that is part of our investigation that shows not only did he not help carry children out or anything else, he was constantly interfering with my officers, calling them names, telling them to get away from the children.
Interestingly, Dougie would also reportedly state during his interview that even if certain people at the party were targeted, he didn't understand why someone would shoot innocent kids.
He says he has seen the posts on social media, people claiming that he and Luciano Guerrero were the targets of the shooting, but he says if anyone was targeted, he doesn't understand why those attackers would shoot children.
However, based on what we know now about the events that led up to this mass shooting and the murders where kids were present that Fly Boyz and Muddy Boyz members have allegedly been involved in, choosing a kid's birthday party as the scene for this unthinkable crime begins to look a lot less random and a lot more calculated. It was also no surprise then, given past events, that the Stockton police would immediately swarm Lewis Park and arrest numerous people on gang-related charges, perhaps in the hopes of both finding information about the shooting and preventing any possible retaliation. It also didn't take long for people online to begin discussing the possibility that EBK were involved in the shooting, and many members of the crew would actually respond to these accusations on social media, strongly denying that they had anything to do with the incident and saying how they didn't condone violence against kids. This would be somewhat ironic and unbelievable given what some EBK rappers have also said in their music about shooting around kids or even killing them. On the 2nd of December, news would report that the FBI had put up a $50,000 reward for any tip that would lead to the arrest of the suspects, and that number would soon rise to over $100,000 as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives and the Stockton Crime Stoppers would also put up their own rewards, showing that the resources used for this case were on another level to any typical gang-related murder investigation that you'd find in Stockton. Yet despite all of these efforts, at the time of making this video, there still hasn't been any arrests in this case. But in the meantime, one Texas-based non-profit called the Youth, Peace and Justice Foundation would announce that they were organizing ceasefire talks between Stockton gangs in relation to this mass shooting, saying that at least 4 gangs had accepted the invite. Some experts would react to such plans with skepticism, saying how there was little hope that anything concrete would come as a result of this.
The possibility of it is minimal. I just can't see it happening. They named a couple of traditional street organizations who had been at odds for 50, 75 years. And to have that kind of ability to pull them into a room and say they want to do a truce of some sort, just kind of speaks to the lack of understanding about the nature of street organizations.
A former Stockton gang member and expert in gang violence didn't want to talk on camera, but told me on the phone the same, saying a meeting is unlikely and an agreement even more so.
I've talked to a lot of people. Nobody knows what's going on. No city officials know.
And the day after the supposed ceasefire talks, the non-profit would come out with a press release saying that they had secured a conditional and temporary truce between the principal drivers, which appears to refer to the gangs that had been at the heart of this conflict. The release stated that the gangs would hold violence in abeyance to save lives, restore order, and ensure members return to long-standing traditions regarding who is involved and what's off limits in gang conflict. However, they also stated that any long-term peace was impossible due to the lack of institutional support and inconsistencies in available programming and opportunities overall, adding that this temporary truce would last from the 12th of December until January the 2nd, 2026. The city officials would quickly come out to dispute any such claims of a ceasefire, and unfortunately, if history is any indication of the future, it's highly unlikely that a tragedy of this scale will go unavenged for too long. So it was November the 29th, 2025, when over 100 people had gathered for a toddler's birthday party at this venue called Monkey Space in North Stockton. It was around just after 6 p.m, after the cake had been cut, when shots rang out. 3 children lost their lives, 1 adult, and over a dozen people were wounded. Even just coming to this spot, seeing the bullet holes in the flesh, seeing the tributes to the people that lost their lives and the children that passed away, it's honestly a sobering and heartbreaking experience. I've really not been so close to the violence in the stories that I've covered like this. I've been to places where people have passed away, and I've been to locations where people have, had shootouts and gang wars, but to really be here and see the evidence markers and it's just heartbreaking. I really want this video to be a message to the next generation of youngsters coming out of everywhere all over America, not just Stockton, but all over America and all over the world. This drill music thing, it can be a way out, and it can be a way of using music to do something positive and change your life, but at the same time, the violence has to stop. We need to push peace and positivity in the community, and the only way we're going to do that is make a change. If anybody's watching this that's young, growing up around these issues, facing this pressure, feeling the pull from the streets, I just implore you to just think twice. Think about your life, think about your future, think about the other people that might be affected by your actions, and just remember that you have so much potential in life. You don't have to lose your life young, you don't have to go out before your time, and you don't have to do that to another person. So I just hope that this video delivers a positive message, that people can understand that this really isn't the way, and I hope the next generation can learn from this. Thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate you.